I believe that Phoenix is going to take them out in Game 7 on Sunday. I think I wouldn't be surprised if it's a rout. That's where I'm coming with this. I hope I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I doubt it.
Dallas 123-90.
And it wasn't that close.
No.
We was talking about players under 25. Luka, Jason Tatum, Trae Young, Zion, Anthony Edwards, LaMelo, Shai Gilgeous, D. Fox, or Jordan Poole. I'm going to give you one guy of those guys I mentioned. Who you taking?
A lot of people would say Luka. I'm going to say Jason Tatum.
Doncic down to 3 seconds, 2 seconds. Doncic for the win.
Against Josh Richardson, left side of the floor. Luka's three is a ring.
I would say to you, we can't summarily dismiss the notion that Trae Young ain't worth that either. Numbers are similar in the postseason, and here's the advantage that Trae does have, Max. He doesn't have baggage. Luka, officiating, tied. I forgot who was with for most technicals in the league this year. He ain't a better offensive player than Kevin Durant. You can cancel that dream. You stop that nonsense. The best offensive player on the planet Earth is Kevin Durant.
Keeps the dribble alive, all the way to the hoop. Scoop to the hoop with a foul. Point 71 and 72.
He is something special. And when you have somebody that gifted, who's at the point spot, who, by the way, can rival a Luka, or I say even eclipse him. Jason Tatum 6'9". Jason Tatum can shoot the three. I saw Jason Tatum drop 46 in a closeout playoff game 6 in Milwaukee.
Stunning. 27-point lead. Down goes Johnson. 3 lead.
Devin Booker will be the best player on the court Sunday. Game 7. It won't be Doncic. It will be Devin Booker Sunday.
You don't
got it right now.
You don't even.
I truly do. No, I think Devin Booker might drop 40. I understand how sensational Luka is offensively.
Right.
That brother don't think about stopping the cold.
No.
He don't play any defense.
No.
I can't have him ahead of those players that I mentioned. What are you?
An idiot sandwich.
You're not gonna find a lot of times on this channel where I've called a black person racist. Not that black people can't be racist, but it's just something that I've never really just talked about on this channel. But Stephen A. Smith from ESPN has a special kind of hate for white European players. I don't care what anybody says. The things that this dude says, or more importantly, not willing to say when it comes to players like Jokic, when it comes to players like Luka Doncic, this dude is delusional, and he has this cognitive dissonance, and he tries his very best to downplay the greatness of these players.
And I certainly don't believe Oklahoma City is going to lose to Dallas. I think the collision course is inevitable, and it's going to be Minnesota versus OKC. Right now, I would have to, me personally, I want to give the edge to the Minnesota Timberwolves. But upon reflection, I definitely thought that Jalen Brunson deserved to be first team. Believe it or not, even ahead of Luka.
I beg your pardon?
Psychologist. So, yeah, I probably struggle with psychology.
Well, they took it to a whole nother level. Listen to the ludicrous take that these folks had, and by these folks, I specifically mean him and Monica McNutt.
I actually am going to go with Tatum.
Same thing.
3 All-NBA selections, the 5-time All-Stars like we saw in the graphic. But I think winning is hard, and I understand the argument that Jason Tatum and the Celtics may have underachieved in the eyes of some. I mean, there were plenty of us that thought they were going to win that 2022 championship. But I think going to 2 finals, now his second, and 3 conference finals, and winning a conference finals MVP, like, I think being closer to the promise, I'm going to give Jason Tatum the edge in this conversation. But this is a very tough question.
It's a very, very tough question. I don't blame y'all for having a tough time with it because I know that I did. But I'm going to go with Jason Tatum, believe it or not.
What a surprise. What a surprise. What a surprise.
Here's a couple things. Luka's been in the league for 6 years. He's missed the playoffs twice. And he's been bounced out in the first round twice. So 4 to 6 years, he either hasn't gotten past the first round or hasn't made it to the first round at all. The 2 other times, it was a conference finals appearance, and now this is his first NBA finals appearance. Now, I will say this about Luka. Points, assists, and rebounds, along with field goal percentage shooting, he's gotten Jason Tatum beat.
How is this a conversation? Everything that they just said was about team success. They're not talking about individuals. So let's listen to what Stephen A. Smith just said. But I will say this about Luka. When it comes to points, rebounds, assists, and field goal percentage, he's got Jason beat. What more do you need? You talking about, at the end of the day, it's about winning. Listen, I understand winning is important. But let's put things into its proper context, because Stephen A. Smith is not doing this. But if Stephen A. Smith was talking about a black player that was in Luka Doncic's position, he will mention these things. But because it's Luka Doncic, he won't mention these things. Let's talk about it. Jason Tatum has been spoiled since he's been in the league. Let's talk about it. This dude has had a great team around him, a great supporting cast, all 7 years that he's been in the league. Prove me otherwise. This dude has had Jaylen Brown, who's been a phenomenal talent since he's been in the league. This dude got Derek White, who, okay, he wasn't selected as an all-star this year. But by all means, that man is an all-star and he's a defensive anchor. Now he has Drew Holiday. Now he has Kristaps Porzingis. And you all can talk about Al Horford being whatever age he is. That's a solid piece. Not to mention all the teammates that he's had in the past that's gotten traded away. What are we talking about here, bro? He's played with Kyrie Irving before. What are we talking about here, bro? And he's made it to the finals, didn't win. A lot of people are not going to knock him for losing to Warriors. Fine. But let's talk about what happened last year. The fact that you lost to a team full of undrafted players. How is this a conversation? Luka Doncic has done more in his career with less. Bro, let's go to the career averages. This is a joke. Luka Doncic is averaging 28.7 points per game for his career. 8.7 rebounds, 8.3 assists. He's averaging almost a triple-double for his career. By the way, Luka Doncic is the third all-time leading scorer as far as career averages by points of all time. Did you hear what I just said? He's only behind Wilt and he's only behind Michael Jordan. That means he's in front of LeBron. That means he's in front of Kobe. That means he's in front of Kevin Durant. That means he's in front of AI. That means he's in front of Stephen Curry. That means he's in front of Carmelo Anthony. That means he's in front of Dwayne Wade. That means he's in front of all the great players that came before him. He's third all time. This is a kid we talking about won the EuroLeague championship at 18 and was the MVP. What are we talking about here? You say no, but we talking about since he came in the league. Bro, my favorite player is Kawhi Leonard. So I've been rooting for the Clippers ever since he came to the Clippers. You know who they had to face every year in the playoffs? The Mavericks. Every year. You know who we beat every year in the playoffs? Up until this year? The Mavericks. But guess what happened every single year that we beat the Mavericks? It was a close series. You know what the problem is with that? It shouldn't have been a close series. The Clippers had the way better team. You know why the series was as close as it was? The fact that some of those series went 7 games? Because of Luka Doncic. This man was hitting step back, fadeaway three-pointer, game-winning three-pointers at the buzzer. This man was averaging like a 35, 40-point triple-double. He's facing double teams, and they still can't stop him. Let's put this into its proper perspective. We're talking about a Clippers team with Kawhi Leonard, who I believe is easily one of the best wing defenders of all time. I would argue that he's the best wing defender of all time, in my opinion. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, who's no scrub defensively. They had Patrick Beverly, right? And Luka was still putting up the numbers he was putting up. What are we talking about here?
But do you know that in Jason Tatum's 7 years in the NBA, he's only been bounced out in the first round 1 time? He's been to 5 conference finals and now his second NBA finals appearance. And when you look at that kind of resume, that's where I think he gets the edge. He hasn't been going home early. Now, having said all of that, to piggyback off of what both of y'all said, it is a tough one because obviously numbers don't tell the whole story. I would tell you this. This question is definitively answered in this championship series.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not. That's actually not the truth. Unless if you're implying that this answer will be answered in this series, in this NBA final series, based on who wins, that's not true. Because Luka Doncic, which many people have been making this case for years, you can argue that Luka Doncic has been the best players in majority of the series that he's played in the playoffs, even the ones that he lost. He was the best player on the floor, including both teams. He just went up against a better team. He didn't have the supporting cast that match the opposing team. Based on who wins doesn't mean that the best player on their team is better than the other player. That's not how this works, right? Because if we're only going to go by team success, does Bill Russell have a better career than Jeffrey Jordan? Of course not. Does Bill Russell have a better career than LeBron James? Of course not, right? Is Bill Russell a better player than Larry Bird? Of course not. What are we talking about here? If you're going to only go by, well, it's all about how far you went into the playoffs. It's all about, did you make it to the promised land? Stop lying, bro. Because you can make that. You all are arguing for Jason Tatum, and what's funny is Jason Tatum is not even the best player on his team anymore. How about that? You can't be coming second fiddle to Jaylen Brown, who's no scrub, but to Jaylen Brown, and try to also put Jason Tatum in the same conversation with Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic is top 3, not 3, in the league right now. Jason Tatum is not in that conversation.
Let me tell you why I took Luka. Because if you look at, you say he's went to 5 Eastern Conference Finals. He was favored. Look at when he lost to Cleveland. They were favored. When they lost to Miami, they were favored. Name the time that Luka lost a series in which he was favored. Think about it, he went up against the Clippers in their prime. Kawhi was playing. Paul George was playing. He took them 7 games by himself. So if I were to take Luka and I put him on Boston, and I take JT and I put him in Dallas, and that's the only thing that I'm changing. The same roster in Boston is going to be there for Luka, and the same roster that Luka had coming up through Dallas. What you think happened, Stephen A? What you think happened, Monica?
But here's where I think you messed up, Shay. Here's where I think you messed up. I get your point. But you got to remember what we're looking at Luka now, we didn't see before. You see Luka stepping stuff up defensively. You see Luka complaining to the referees less. You see him being more diplomatic or more judicious. You see him being more deferential. Now, obviously, he believes in Kyrie more than he believed in Porzingis, for example, or somebody else. So we get that part. I take those things into consideration. I get what you're saying. But I'm just saying, looking at him in a vacuum, not really paying that much attention to why he may have been the way that he was. And that's not to say it was all bad, because Luka was great. He averaged 21 points as a rookie, for crying out loud. I'm just simply saying, looking at him now, that's not what we were seeing years ago.
What argument are you making? Okay, he wasn't the defender, and he didn't defer to his teammates as much as he does now. Look at the numbers. The dude was still a freak of nature. Look at the numbers. He was still better than 90% of the league his first year in the league, bro. His second year in the league, he was better than 90% of all basketball players in the world. What are you talking about? You can make the argument that Luka Doncic in his second year was already better than Jason Tatum. I'll take it a step further. You could argue that Luka Doncic is already a first ballot of Hall of Famer. Yeah. You can make that argument right now. Let's look at this dude's numbers. Let's really take into account Luka's career just real fast. Third most in points behind LeBron James and Kevin Durant by 25 years old. He's one of 2 players in NBA history with multiple 60-point games before turning 25. He has the second most triple-doubles behind Oscar Robertson. He has the second most 20-point triple-doubles. He has the second most 30-point triple-doubles. He has the second most 40-point triple-doubles. He's the only player in NBA history to record a 50-point triple-double under 25 years old. He has the most career three-pointers under 25 years old. He has the most games with 5 or more three-pointers for a player under 25 years old. He has the 7th most assists behind all these great players here. I just knew that Stephen A. Smith had a thing for Luka Doncic, like a special type of hate for Luka Doncic, and really Jokic too. but especially Luka. When Luka put up those 70 points and Stephen A talked like this.
Okay. But the fans didn't want what we saw last night in Atlanta. Did you see that?
Are you
I mean, that was
sure?
a layup. That was just, listen, that was a
It was like the
disgrace.
All-Star game.
The Atlanta Hawks, no wonder why y'all stink. Did you see how they played defense last night? I mean, this is not Joel Embiid who played Billy Ball because you know what, you have a thin Victor Wembanyama on you. We understand that. We expect that. This is not a situation where Karl Anthony Towns dropped 58 in the first 3 quarters and then disappeared. It was an APB out for him in the 4th quarter and all of this other stuff. But the 58 points he scored in those first 3 quarters, a lot of those points, he was being challenged. This is not that. What transpired last night in Atlanta was disgraceful.
But when Donovan Mitchell put up his 70 points, this is how he spoke.
Gotta go there. Why you gotta go there, Molly?
Give you that visual.
I mean, this is the kind of stuff. This is what I'm talking about. See, this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the damn Knicks right there. Everybody know I'm a Knicks fan, right? I wanted Donovan Mitchell, but you didn't get Donovan Mitchell. You got me Jalen Brunson, who I appreciate. I think he's an all-star this year. But you didn't get Donovan Mitchell. I'm talking about a dude, doggy. Here's the ball. Take me there.
It's a difference, bro. This dude is a clown. Luka Doncic versus Jason Tatum, very great. They're both really good players. Really good players. It's not even a conversation. Jason Tatum don't even deserve to be that conversation. Period. Luka's just a way better. He controls the game in so many different ways. Jason Tatum doesn't do that. He's settling for 3-pointers a lot more than Luka does. Luka settles more than I would like for him to as well. But Jason Tatum plays low IQ basketball, boneheaded basketball, and just makes silly play after silly play. Luka, younger, less time, has averaged more points, more assists, more rebounds, and he's shooting a higher percentage. Why are we talking about this?
Oh yeah, Didi got a podcast.